Welcome to the Three Championship Drive podcast on YouTube, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Follow me on X at Lance Caporossi, the same way you see it spelled on the screen. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, like the video, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan. So we have an interesting quote to start off the podcast. This comes from an anonymous executive, and he says he feels bad for Cade Cunningham and calls the Pistons situation a mess after drafting Ron Holland. So here's the quote. He says, "I feel bad for Cade Cunningham. They've been rebuilding for years, even though they never planned on it. And this pick signals they might need to blow up the roster and start over again. I just don't see how Holland plays with Ausar Thompson, Jaden Ivey, and all their young guys. That situation is a mess. Even when Holland was scoring in Vegas, it was so ugly to watch." Let me just say, I cannot stand anonymous executives. Show your face when you say things like this. Don't hide behind a journalist. What did this anonymous executive want the Detroit Pistons to do? Who do they want the Pistons to draft with the fifth pick? How do they know this was a bad pick? It's Summer League. We haven't seen Ron Holland with the rest of the roster. He just got Dude, does this guy not expect Trajan Langen to make moves? He just got done putting his front office together. Summer League is supposed to be ugly basketball. That's what it is. It's a time for coaching staffs to get a look at incoming rookies. So who cares if Ron Holland's offense was ugly? He again was playing without a point guard. And he was asked to again play outside of his role. I don't care if it was ugly basketball. He did enough things to impress me. I mean, even though it doesn't matter if he impresses me, but I hate the anonymous executive. I hate that they can hide behind a journalist and say this stuff because, again, who do you want them to draft? They were going for best pick available, and I've disagreed with the best pick available strategy because I feel like since you have Cade Cunningham, you have the future All-Star, you have that franchise piece, you can go in a different direction. Like you can actually draft for fit when you have a player like him. So, but I mean, like when you have the strategy of best player available, who did you want them to take? Because I feel like if the Pistons had taken anybody other than Ron Holland at that pick with the fifth pick, anonymous executive would have complained about it. This quote still would have been said. And it just bugs me, man, because I know what's going to happen during this season from the media. But Zach, if you want to share your thoughts on this quote, feel free.
Man, you did that irk you a little bit? They got you a little bit.
I've been thinking about it for days.
Man, dude, all I can say, in pardon my French, but fuck who doesn't matter. Like, honestly, who cares? Like, if this guy, whoever it is that's saying it behind closed doors, but Lance, we live in a world now that people like to hide behind keyboards. So even if someone wanted to, like, no one's gonna put their face to any type of comment like this. And honestly, if he's so worried about Cade Cunningham, why the hell hasn't he traded for him yet? Mind your business. It's not your team. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Like, if you're not running the team, we're under brand new ownership. It does not matter. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. Like, people are going to talk shit about the Pistons, yeah, because we suck right now. But I'll tell you what, when we rise from the grave, things are going to change.
Okay, but what does blowing up the team do right now for the Detroit Pistons?
Nothing.
Yeah, it does nothing. It does nothing. Like it was, it's a rhetorical question because you're going to be put in the same position you're already in right now.
Yeah.
The best case scenario for the Detroit Pistons, just play out the season with the young guys. You got those veterans, you sprinkled them in. Yeah, sure, you didn't sign a big name, but no big names coming to Detroit right now. You're not bringing a Paul George in. Yeah. Who cares that you had to pay, what was it, $25 million a year for Tobias Harris? I really don't care about it. He fits. He can still attack. He can play off of Cade. That's fine with me. That's what you want in a veteran. You get the same thing with Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and you re-signed Simone Fontecchio for 2 years, $16 million. Dude, it's a great deal. So, I mean, you want them just to trade everybody? You want them to trade Cade and just restart, and then 3 years from now, they're stuck in the exact same situation they are right now?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't get it. It's just a stupid thing. And for just some anonymous executive to say, like, dude, instead of just complaining and critiquing, like, dude, help the Pistons figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Just, oh, dude, Ron Holland's a bad pick. How do you know that
Yeah.
he's a bad pick? Man, for all we know, Ausar is just in the gym 24/7 working on his jump shot, and it's just going to be majestic this year. You know, like
I don't know about all of that.
maybe.
But I get your frustration with it. And you know what the best part about saying something anonymously is? They probably don't have it any better than we do. That's why it's anonymous. If it was someone that was successful winning rings, then they probably would put their name in it, and me and Lance could look and say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, they're right. But it's coming from somebody that does not matter. And I don't think anybody should be worried about it. I mean, it could be I don't think it's enough to be bulletin board material for these guys. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but we did suck. And we do have a lot to prove. Like, we're not going to deny that at all. So, but when it comes to other people making suggestions of how we run an organization, it's their first year with them. Like I said, just give it time. And when we start to become a better basketball team, then these comments are just going to be something that's comical that happened in the past.
Yeah, and dude, I guess the part that really frustrates me is, and by the way, it is bulletin board material for Ron Holland. Like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, you
Okay.
know what I'm saying? Like, dude, ugly offense, all this crap. Like, yeah, I'd put that in my locker. I'd be looking at it every single day. I don't. And by the way, to the fans that were joking that this is Troy Weaver, there was no Halle Berry reference. There's no way this was Troy Weaver. It was not. There wasn't enough uhs and ums in it at all either. But dude, let Trajan Langdon, dude, just let him do his job for a little bit before you just say that he missed on a draft pick. I mean, I don't know who you wanted them to draft at 5th. Like, I mean, I personally really like Donovan Cleon. He had some good games during summer league. He looks like he could be a solid anchor defensively for the Portland Trailblazers. And now I just got to turn that belief into Jalen Duren. But the problem I have with this is, dude, the media. The media is just, this is the beginning of it all, dude. This is the beginning of the media to start pushing the narrative that Cade Cunningham needs to get out of Detroit. The Pistons will have another losing season. I mean, we can all predict that. And the media will start to recognize Cade and most likely even praise him for his play. And then they'll start talking about how Detroit has done him a disservice. And I'm going to hate that from the media. It's only been 3 years. He's going into his 4th year under a new coach, under a new GM. Give it a little bit of time before we push this, because and I'm not the only Pistons fan that thinks this way. We all know it's coming because this is what always happens in Detroit. It always happens with Detroit sports. If it doesn't go well for a couple of years, the media starts just creeping in and pushing that narrative and just saying, oh, you know what? That young star that they just got, that they're finally starting to build around, they're finally starting to get it right. We need to get them out of that city. That's why you hear the slogan, Detroit versus everybody. That's the motto. And that's what I didn't believe in that. But when I see things like this, I really do believe that it is Detroit versus everybody.
Yeah, everyone that's currently on starting the roller coaster ride of this new organization, as we are just leaving the station and going up the hill, just give it some time. It's going to take a minute. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. And Cade signing the contract that he signed to stay with us makes me know that he believes that there is change coming. So just let people do their jobs. Ignore the bullshit. It's just something we don't care about. You don't have to care about. And we can sit and laugh about it in 3 years when maybe we're holding a trophy above our head. Granted, maybe might be too soon, but you never know. You never know. We might have a lot of luck come towards us. So I don't think with Ron Holland, man, to attack this guy with his shooting and scoring in Vegas, that's some real petty shit. Like, to me that is like showing signs of jealousy, maybe a little bit.
Dude,
Like,
yeah, 'cause
maybe is someone upset that they did not get this guy, so all they're going to do is tear him down. So Ron Holland's going to perform the way he's going to perform, and this team is going to collectively get better as we progress. So I think comments like this, you just let them slide.
yeah, we'll have to let it slide, because I mean, I'm not gonna let it slide too far, because I'm glad we're talking about it. I mean,
Yep.
we're in like the most boring part of the NBA offseason. Nothing's going on. So we're going to get
Yeah.
quotes like this. In Detroit, historically, whether it's football, whatever, baseball, basketball, they are always being picked on for something. I remember, I forget who it was. It might have been Jamel Hill. Like, talking about the teal jerseys. It's like, dude, what can Detroit ever do anything right?
Yeah,
Like, oh my gosh, man.
yeah.
It's so nauseating. Like, dude, just praise the young man Cade Cunningham in his game and just talk about him like that. Don't just talk about him wanting to be out of Detroit. 'Cause I know that's coming. So now that we're a couple of weeks removed from summer league, we're gonna predict starting lineups and rotations. And we'll do this exercise again when training camp has begun and we get more news how players are performing. My starting lineup has not changed as of right now. Like until we get that training camp news, my starting lineup is saying the same. It's Cade at the point. It's Malik Beasley at the two because I don't think the Pistons signed him just to bring him in and be a bench piece. And he started for the Milwaukee Bucks. It doesn't mean he has to finish games, but you need some offense. You need some shooting in that starting lineup, and that is what he gives you at the two. I'm starting Ausar at the three because I want that defense. I want that energy right out of the gate. Tobias Harris at my four and Jalen Duren at my five. That is my starting five. And then I'm bringing Jaden Ivey off the bench in the first couple of minutes, whether it's for Beasley or Cade Cunningham, and I'm bringing Fontecchio along with them, and then I'm bringing Isaiah Stewart. But that would be my starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons. And again, we're going to do this exercise again when training camp starts. But what's your starting lineup, and has it changed from when we last did this?
So I obviously got Cade at the one, and I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with Tim Hardaway Jr. at my two to start off. Fontecchio running the three, Tobias at the four, Duren at the five. Now I think it's hard to talk about these guys as like starters and bench players because I think we shouldn't really talk about them as being bench players, but more as pieces because they're going to get starter minutes. Like I think Bobby Clinton's going to work his way into starter minutes. I think Ron Holland's going to work his way into starter minutes. Jaden Ivey is going to play just as much as I think like Fontecchio is going to, and Malik Beasley is going to. Like I think the depth that we have with what we have right now is way farther along than what we were thinking was going to even come close to happening at the beginning of the offseason when we first started doing this. So it's nice to have more of options with these guys to be able to bring in. But I have Cade, Tim, Fontecchio, Tobias, and Duren for my starters. And then it really depends on Ron Holland and how he like matures because I like Jaden Ivey at my one if we're going to run a second unit. I like you got to use Malik Beasley. We picked him up, so you're going to put him at the two. I really want to put Ron Holland at my three, and Ausar at my four, and Stu at my five. But that I think is going to change when we see how well Bobby Klintman progresses. So that's what I have as of now. But like I said, a lot of these young guys, I think like Cade's going to play 29, 31 minutes a game. And I think Ivy will be around 27, 28 minutes a game. Like I think all these guys are going to play important roles. So, and I think I said it a couple pods ago that the Detroit Pistons are probably going to have the like most sporadic starting five lineup like throughout the entire season because they're going to try to figure it out unless we get lucky and strike gold right away with something that clicks. But as of now, that's my 1 through 5.
Yeah, I think Cade plays 35 minutes per game. I think he goes up.
Think so?
Yeah, I think Jaden Ivey's like 28 to 32. I think Tobias Harris is probably around like 32 minutes per game. Ausar, he's a little bit harder to predict, but probably around like, dude, I could see even see Ausar getting like 35 or 36. He seems like as long as his health is in check, that's a dude that can play for a long time. He has a motor that doesn't quit. Malik Beasley, I could see him probably getting around like 25 throughout the season. Tim Hardaway probably around like 19, 20 minutes per game, somewhere around there. The rookies are hard to predict. Like I love your enthusiasm for Bobby Klintman. I really do. And I hope I hope him and Ron Holland get as many minutes as they can this year. I really hope they work their way into that rotation. I do think it's tough for both of them, and I think even though the Pistons are bad, they're not so bad that you're just going to throw the fifth pick to the fire immediately. Like I don't know if that's how JB Bickerstaff operates as a coach. I mean, unless Ron Holland blows them away, I mean, but I just don't see the Pistons doing that to Ron Holland right away. I do think he will get minutes early and often with the Detroit Pistons just because he is the 5th pick and, like, you have to play him, but getting major minutes and being a major contributor to this team, I just don't see that happening right away, but I do think him and Bobby Klitman work their way in. I don't think we see Ron Holland in G League unless, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, and all these guys just kill it in training camp. But Bobby Klitman, yeah, again, I love your enthusiasm. I don't know I don't know if I see him playing starter minutes this year right away. Maybe towards the end of the year when the Pistons aren't playing for anything but that sweet 5th pick.
What I'm excited to see is actually having a coach that's not going to handicap Jaden Ivey. And
Yeah.
we're gonna see what Jaden Ivey can do because he's gonna take minutes away from Ausar. I think he's gonna take minutes away from Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. So we're gonna get to see some of these guys like actually thrive in their right positions because I think JB, if anything, he's gonna at least put the guys where he knows that they're gonna be the most successful. So we haven't really got to see a full Cade and Jaden clinic because I think that Monty was a huge handicap for that, just by limiting the amount of times and opportunities that Jaden got to play with Cade. So I think we have a lot to figure out within the first 20 games just to see how well these guys actually mesh under a coaching staff that's like prepared them for basketball games.
See, I think we'll see Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham on the floor, and I think it's Jaden Ivey's it's his minutes to lose. That's how I look at it. Like I think you can pencil him in for 28 to 32, and I think he will get the second most minutes behind Cade Cunningham at that 1 and 2 spot. I think Malik Beasley is here to play a role for the Pistons. I think Tim Hardaway is here to play a role until they ultimately trade him around the trade deadline. But I think those two guards, they were brought in for a reason to push Ivy and to help Cade Cunningham out. That's what I think. And I just don't know if we're going to see a ton of minutes with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey on the floor just because I don't think you really want Marcus Sasser playing the point guard, getting him minutes at point guard. He's definitely an off ball player. We've talked about that to exhaustion. So I think we're going to see a lot of staggering between Cade and Jaden Ivey. I do expect to see one of those two on the floor at all times for the Detroit Pistons because right now those are the two most dynamic guards they have on the team. Ivy with his athletic ability and his speed and his just that ability to get to the rim just needs to finish a little bit better. Like you can't teach that stuff. And then Cade with everything he can with manipulating the defense, getting to his spots, creating for others. They're both very dynamic in what they do. So you have to play those two. They don't have to play together all the time. Like that's something that kind of annoys me with some Pistons fans. Like I mean, yeah, you want to see them on the floor together, but like right now, I'm okay with at least them being on the floor at all times, one of them being on the floor at all times. And I think that's what we're going to get with JB Bickerstaff. But what's a lineup that you want to see for the Detroit Pistons with the roster they have?
Oh man. So a roster that I would love to just take a gander at, and you are gonna think I am insane. But I would like to see Cade at the 1, Jaden at the 2. I would like to see Ron at the 3, and I would like to see Bobby at the 4, and I would like to see Isaiah Stewart at the 5. That is a lineup that I think could be incredibly successful. It is a very long, lengthy. It says I don't. The reason I have Stu instead of Dern is just because of his lateral quickness. I think he's faster, and you're going to need him for switches. So I would have to have Isaiah Stewart out there over Duran just to defend at the perimeter because I think that is a lineup that every person can switch on whoever they have to because Jaden Ivey may be small, but he brings a lot of physicality. So any type of ball screens, everything is switchable and everything is doable. I like that lineup a lot.
So, man, that would be a lot of fun. You are really loving Bobby Clement, and I'm loving
I
it too.
am. It's just a shot,
Yeah.
man. We need shooters, man. We need someone that can create some space and that can knock some jumpers down, man. And I think he is loving the situation that he is in right now at Detroit because I think he's the same with Jaden. Like it's minutes to lose, man. Go out there and just perform, baby. Just shoot it, let it fly. Like do what you have to do to show them that you are going to be useful for this team.
So a lineup that I have, I'm just doing this off the top of my head that I think would be a lot of fun to see. And I'm gonna exclude Cade. So Cade's not gonna be in this lineup, but I'm gonna
Okay.
go Jaden Ivey at the 1. At the 2, this is where it gets kind of tricky for me because there's different ways I can look at it. Like I might go Tim Hardaway at the 2, and then Ron Holland at the 3, Ausar at the 4, then Isaiah Stewart at the 5. That would be fun. You still get a little rim protection. You get defense with Ausar, but then you just get a ton of just athletic ability at the 1, the 3,
That's
and the
a
4
fast
spot.
lineup.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun just to see them
Yeah.
kicking it in transition. And then another lineup, which this will include Cade, but it would be Cade Cunningham. It would be Tim Hardaway Jr. again at the 2, Fontecchio, Tobias Harris at the 3 and the 4. And then, dude, again, give me Isaiah Stewart at the 5. Like, you get everybody can shoot. You can
Yep.
play 5 out. Isaiah Stewart, he's kind of like a weird 3 and D with Fontecchio. You get a bunch of two-way players in that, not excellent, not great two-way players, but
Yep.
Fontecchio and Stewart and Cade, like, yeah, they can all play a little defense and they could play some offense. Like that would just that's a fun lineup for me. And I think hopefully we actually see that type of lineup for the Detroit Pistons. That would be great. And I'm not trying to exclude Jalen Duren. I just want as much spacing on the floor as I possibly can get with some fun lineups.
Yeah, and I mean, with the roster that we have, dude, it's just plug someone into a spot and see how well it meshes. Like that's what we're going to be doing. Because I think JB Bickerstaff is a very isolated-minded head coach when it comes to offense. Even though he does take a lot of uh, mentality towards the defensive side of the ball. But so the 5 out thing might work better with JB at the helm, but we're going to see a lot of different type of combinations of players and lineups.
Oh, yeah, we are, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And who do you think is the best two-way player on the roster right now for the Detroit Pistons?
I would say Cade Cunningham.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, if you is he though? I was kind of thinking like Simone Fontecchio or Isaiah Stewart. Those were 2 names. Where
Yeah,
again, not elite defensively, but like I don't even know if you could throw Fontecchio in there because he is good defensively, but he's yeah, I don't know. That would be my answer between those 2. But Cade Cunningham is a good answer though because he does stay in front of people defensively, and obviously he's the best offensive player for the Detroit Pistons. He
yep.
would probably be the best two-way player. You're probably right. But he's just such an easy answer. It can be any you could say it.
I mean, you want to say Asar, but you can't yet. You haven't seen him thrive on the other end of the ball
I
or
do
on,
wanna say
on
Asar,
offense. You haven't
I
seen
do
it.
wanna say
You,
Asar,
you
but
wanted to, like you thought about it. You're like, can I say Asar, Fontecchio, and Stewart? No, because Zach will flame me for it because he can't shoot yet. So we want to say Asar. We want Asar to be our two-way guy. We want Ron Holland also to be a two-way guy. But I think there's still a lot that both of those two need to learn, like about themselves. And we have the best coaching staff to do it for them.
so here's my hot take.
All right.
Asar enters the conversation this season as the best two-way player on the Pistons. That's my hot take.
All right, then I'll give you one.
Okay.
Rock. You can no, that's fine. We should write this down somewhere. That's fine. But for my hot take, I think Ron Holland averages more a game than Asar Thompson.
Ooh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so then what's the scoring difference there?
What do you mean? Like what do I think they're gonna average for the season?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Don't
think
even say anything like 9.2 and 9.4. It has to
no, no,
be
no, 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 no.
yeah,
I would say Ron Holland probably like 12.5, 12 to 13 a game, and Asar probably sits around 8 and 9.
ooh,
I think Asar could average a double double.
I
He
was
can,
just
but I
about to
don't
ask
think
you
he's
that.
scoring much over 10 points a game. Like he's a 10 and 11 guy. And I think Ron Holland can catch fire easier than Asar Thompson can. And that's why I see Ron Holland having a higher average for the season than Asar because I think Ron Holland could go out and score 20 a game when Asar usually just stays between like 7 and 12.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm falling into this conversation of that Ron Holland is not a good offensive player. Like I know he's not great.
Listen to too many people, man.
Yeah, and that's how I feel it. But I mean, he averaged 20 in a pro league last year. He's playing against fringe NBA players, and he still put up 20. He wasn't playing with a point guard. And the last 8 games, he's averaging 24, 25 a game. Like
Mhm.
it's just this weird narrative that like he can't score the basketball, but like he definitely can. Like it may not be the most efficient, and he definitely did struggle with the G League Ignite, but like he's playing with Cade Cunningham, he's playing
Yep.
with Jaden Ivey, he's playing with Fontecchio and Tobias Harris. Those guys are going to make a difference for him. So yeah, I mean,
But I have another perspective on that, though.
okay.
So, like, we can both say, like, when it comes to Ausar and it comes to Ron Holland, we both know that Ausar is going to get more minutes throughout the season just because he is now in year 2, and he is who he is. He knows who he is. I'm saying Ron Holland is going to he's going to average more points per game because we both know that Detroit, like, we're not expecting a lot out of this team. Like, we really aren't. Like, the wins was 25 and a half was the spread,
24 and
and
a half,
20,
24.
24 and a half. So I think Ron Holland gets a lot of garbage minutes. And I think he gets a lot of transition buckets with Jaden Ivey because I think that's when he's going to be on the floor. So that's why I'm saying Ron Holland will probably average more because I think the minutes that he get is going to be like more opportunity for him to be successful than our SARS minutes. Like when Asar's on the court, he does that. He does what he needs to do defensively, and he gets rebounds. He gets offensive rebounds. He finishes at the rim. But when Asar's on the floor, he's going to be playing with Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Cade Cunningham, guys that are going to shoot the ball more often than he is. So that's why I'm saying that I don't think it's going to be a super impressive way that Ron Holland averages more. I just think the minutes that he gets is going to give him more of an opportunity to be successful.
And no, and I get that. That's totally fair. I do think Asar increases his scoring. I think we're looking at like 13 or 14 a game for him. I just have a feeling he turns the corner offensively. Even though I feel like Ron Holland is coming into his career with more redefined offensive game than Asar did. That's why the comparison's kind of weird for me because Asar was definitely more raw and he was really good at other basketball things than just the offensive stuff. Like you could tell he was an all-star complementary player where if you put him in the right role, this is the Swiss Army knife that can do everything on he's your Sean Marion, he's your Andre Karolinko, he's your Tayshaun Prince. He's that type of player where yes, those guys could eventually score in the NBA, but they were so good at everything else that they were going to have a long career in the NBA without scoring the basketball. But with Ron Holland, you see a clear I feel like the path is pretty clear for him to be a 20 plus per game scorer in the NBA because he can get to the free throw line. That's a huge thing for an offensive player. He's not afraid to shoot it. His jump shot's not broken. He can dribble a little bit. The dribbling needs to be cleaned up, but like he definitely has he has a raw offensive game, but it was better than Asar's coming in.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that. I mean, we're gonna find out,
we
and
are. We
and
are.
I'm hoping they're both successful. I hope it's a tie. Like I hope it's both 14.5. Like that's what I hope it is.
That would just
Success
be
for everybody.